Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a special show with a couple of gentlemen who have served our country and who have family members who have served our country in great capacities, and we want to share it with you today. Over here is Richard Copas. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you.
And Jim Ross. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you.
Good to have you all here today.
Good to be here.
And I've been talking to him a little bit about a wonderful story. Richard's brother, years and years ago, was overlooked for a very important medal. The medal was?
Medal of Honor.
Yeah, the Medal of Honor, the highest medal
right.
that can be awarded to someone. What was your brother's name?
Ardie Copas.
Ardie Copas.
Yeah.
Now, Jim, we're going to get to how you come into the picture in a minute. Jim actually helped Richard track down some information about his brother and actually find out about the award that he was so deserving of. But first of all, tell us a little bit about your brother, about what you remember about him.
Well, I mean, as a kid coming up, he was always my hero. You know, it still bothers me this day.
Sure it does. You lost your brother.
Yeah, he was somebody I always looked up to. He was my big brother. He was 3 years older than me, and he was one of the most lovingest people you ever met.
Ardie went into the service,
at 18
Richard, at 18.
Yeah.
And he was actually killed in the line of duty at 19?
19, yeah.
Okay.
May the 12th, 1970, he was killed.
Yeah. And you all may remember this has been newspaper articles. I first read it online about February 20th, 22nd, somewhere right in there in one of the national newspapers that mentioned that 24 men were overlooked for receiving the medal, and were going to actually receive it, or their family was going to receive it, and they'd be recognized for outstanding service. But now, when this happened, you knew your brother died.
Yeah.
And did you know anything about the story, about what happened to it?
Absolutely nothing. Of course, I went to the funeral. I was at 16 years old, and so then when I left, I went back where I was at. Me and my family had we just buried the function. I mean, just no contact. So
right.
And so I went back. Nobody would tell me what happened, and so
nobody in your family.
Nobody would tell me exactly what happened. That's because of my past. Things that I've done in my past. And, I'm ashamed.
You
of
wasn't
now.
close to your family at the time.
Right. No. Only him. He was always there for me.
How about that?
And I was a very troubled kid when I was little. So
Okay, but you left there and you go on with your life, and
right.
you wind up in Dublin,
right.
Georgia.
1974, I moved here.
Okay, and then lo and behold, you were telling me earlier, you go to take off the trash one day, and the fellow that's working there at you said, I know somebody needs a little work. You go to their house, and lo and behold, it's Jim.
Yeah.
Tell us how that went.
Like I said, I went over to his house, and I pulled up, and we were standing there talking. I noticed he had a Purple Heart on his tag, and I said, I just want to thank you for your service for this country.
Now, why did you do that?
I was always taught, my daddy always taught me, any soldier, retired or whatever, active or whatever, you always thank him for his service, because everything we've got, we owe to our military. Without our military, we wouldn't be nothing.
That's right.
People like Jim is what's made this country great.
That's right. That's right. I want everybody to recognize that. And if you hadn't shared that with your loved ones, with your young people in your family, recently or before, you need to listen to the way it's told that you should thank them for the service, ladies and gentlemen.
Because our military is the greatest thing on the face of the earth, And
well, they lay down their life for us, just like your brother did.
Right. And I mean, he joined. He wanted to go in the Army. That's all he talked about when we was kids coming up. We used to have war games and all that, playing like we was soldiers and stuff like that, and that's all he talked about. But
so he went into service again. He was killed in the line of duty. You didn't really know what happened, how it happened.
Right.
And then again, we fast forward and you meet Jim. And you tell him about it, and you shared with him. Jim, tell us how it went when he came to your house and just talking to you, and he thanked you.
Well, we started talking and everything. Like Richard said, he seen my Purple Heart tag, and he was thanking me for my service and everything. And then he started. You tell Richard's a very patriotic man, and he started asking me about his brother, and you can see the hurt in his eyes. Because you're looking at 39 years, he didn't know anything about him or what happened to him. He was killed in Vietnam. But that was it. Then we started talking, and I got interested in it and everything, and I was like, I said to myself, well, maybe I can help him. And I started asking him about his brother, and I said, do you know how your brother was killed in Vietnam? He goes, no, I don't know. And it seemed like everyone should know how their brother got killed in Vietnam. But so that took more interest in me.
Yeah.
And then I asked him, I said, you know what unit he was in Vietnam? He goes, no, something 5. And I'm like, well, that's not much to go on. So I went in the house and I started thinking of everything. After Richard and I said our goodbyes, he had told me that he'd asked many people over that 39-year period if they could help him. And I think at one time he said he even asked a major general, and the major general turned him down. Well, they didn't turn him down, but never got
back to me.
Never got in touch with him again,
Right.
which is a turn down.
Sure.
And so I came in a house, and I remember a firefight in Vietnam, and this unit that was over from us in the jungle, and we thought we were going to react to them, but we never did. But I remember their call sign was Bobcat, and I always liked that call sign. And so I said, well, that was the 5th Mechanized. And then it came to me, and I said to myself, I said, that might be the unit, but there's no way that could, but I'll try anyway. So I went on the website of the 5th Mechanized Infantry, and then I got a contact number. I called up in Chicago, Illinois, and I asked the guy, I said, can you help me locate a trooper? And he said, who is he? And I said, his name is Ardie Copas. He said, well, we know Ardie Copas. He's very well known in our unit. He got the Distinguished Service Cross. I said, wow. So then I got to talking to him, and I went on their website, seen a picture of Ardie holding an M16. Then my interest started peaking. Then I started doing some research on Ardie. Then I find out he got the Purple Heart posthumously.
Wow.
He got, at first he was awarded the Silver Star. And that was upgraded to the Distinguished Service Cross. And I was like, the Silver Star, that's not much. And then he got the Distinguished Service Cross. And I said, he should have got the Medal of Honor. But before that, I said, Richard should be honored losing his brother in Vietnam, and being the hero he is, the people in Dublin would like to know about it. Mm-hmm. So I called up the Army. The Army took a big interest in it, in Warner Robinson. I got my wife's help from the VA, and we went to work on Ardie being honored at the courthouse. The Army came, Sheriff's Department, Police Department, and they gave Richard all of Ardie's past medals. Uh-huh. And so they read the citation for Ardie, how he got the Distinguished Service Cross in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And I want to tell you something right now about Ardie Copas. Ardie Copas was very much a hero. And he was equivalent to Audie Murphy, I think, in some cases, more than Audie Murphy, because he was on an armored personnel carrier. Excuse me. Audie Murphy was on a tank. And Audie Murphy didn't lose his life winning the Congressional Medal of Honor. Ardie Copas did. Both of them were 19 years old. Audie Murphy was firing a .30 caliber machine gun. Ardie Copas was firing a .50 caliber machine gun. Ardie Copas was knocked off of that track 4 times, and he climbed back up on it. And this is when I started getting a little emotional for what he went through. And this is when I was getting emotional.
Yeah,
I served on armored personnel carrier in Vietnam.
Yeah. And from what I understand, they were under fire. They went in to check on
ammo dump.
On ammo dump. They needed to go in and find out where was it again?
In Cambodia.
In Cambodia, okay. So they go into Cambodia. They're searching to find out where all this ammunition, where all this firepower is coming from. All they had to do was locate it and then come out. They wanted to spot it, I guess, so they go back in and get it later. But anyway, they spotted it, and it got late at night, and they got trapped. They had to stay overnight. And then they become under fire about 5 a.m. the next morning.
Right, sometime, yeah.
Yeah, and another soldier was on the gun.
He was up on the track, what do you call it? He was up on it. He was, I guess, on duty that night, and he was shot off. His name was Stephen. He was shot off first. And Ardie runs around, my brother runs around there and drags him away from the machine while it's on fire and all that. He crawls up on it, and that's when...
Yeah, and that's when he starts firing, and they shoot him off of it.
Yeah.
And he crawls back up on there one time, and he continues to fire, trying to get the other 21 men.
18,
all right.
15 or 18 when 18 went to Jim.
It was 18.
18 men, yeah.
Okay, the total of 18. So the other men out. He gets shot off, he crawls back up. He gets shot off, he crawls back up.
May I say something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what happened was, when you're in a firefight, the enemy at that time, They had AK-47s, they had rocket propelled grenades, RPGs.
Yep.
They had recoilless rifles. And when you say he's getting shot at, he's getting a lot of weapons fired at him, okay? And that track took an RPG. He climbed back up on it after he took an RPG, okay? It was still firing at him. This happened a period of 4 times. And then the 4th time, my recollection is they got a recoilless rifle fired at him. And the recoilless rifle will flat knock out a track. And that's what happened to Ardie. And the way I understand it, and I hate to say it, Ardie was on fire. The 50 caliber melted, and the Congressional Medal of Honor is not enough for this man in the way I look at it. I served on armored personnel carrier in Vietnam. I fired a 50 caliber in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what he did. I tell you what, it's a great thing. Great thing.
Yeah. Most people wouldn't have the courage to crawl back up there the first time, would they?
Yeah.
No, he was working on courage.
Yeah.
And also, too, when you're in combat in a situation where a lot of it's reaction to what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, sense kick in, hey, I got to save myself, I got to save the men around me. That's what Ardie was doing.
Right.
He was saving himself, saving his men around him, but he put them first. And when they evacuated them out, Ardie was still firing. And that's when he got the medal, and he well deserving.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no doubt about it that it's well deserving. I did not understand, and I just want to speak on it just for a moment because hopefully it'll show how far we've come in our country, that we go back and we recognize men. But what got me on the article was that when I first read it was that men were, because of their names, were overlooked. And I didn't understand that. When I saw the name Copas, it being from Dublin, you know, it intrigued me. I want to know, hey, where's the name come from? Well, you told me it's a Spanish name. And but there was Jewish people, there were black people, there were several people were overlooked at the time. Good, but whatever, it happened in the past, but now they were all recognized. The family was.
This may be 44 years it happened. So
Lord have mercy.
It's something you don't never forget. You can't forget.
I'd like to say something about that.
Please.
There's been thousands of men in war in history overlooked for medals, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking thousands over a period of time, going back to the Revolutionary War, the Indian Wars, whatever. But for to make it a race issue, I didn't like that.
Okay.
Because Ardie, let me tell you, Ardie did it from his heart.
Right.
It wasn't because of the skin color,
Right.
where he came from.
Sure.
Ardie Copas was a man. And that upset me they did that. They brought race in on it.
Okay.
And like I say, there's a lot of people overlooked.
Yeah.
And Ardie was overlooked. And there's people that on the things that they did in Vietnam, they didn't get anything for it. You know, they didn't get anything for it, but they did it. They did it.
Yeah.
And Ardie was one of the fortunate ones. Eventually, he got recognized.
Yeah, and you know, Jim, it makes me think you always hear, well, you find out what kind of person you are in the heat of the battle. And people apply it to their daily lives, to things they do, but we're talking about the heat of the battle.
I've seen cowards in Vietnam. They were actually cowards.
Yeah.
I've seen after a firefight, you could feel their M16, it was cold. They'd just sit there and they'd just be like shaking. I didn't have time for them. I mean, I didn't want them coming in on me. And I would put maximum fire out there, and most everybody else would too.
Sure.
But I faced that. I faced cowardice in Vietnam. People shaking and not, I don't want to fight. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it either.
Yeah, but you got to do it.
You got to do it for you. I mean, your life.
Yeah, and you join and you serve your country. And again, we do appreciate your service.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Jim's a great soldier.
Yeah.
Tell you that.
All right,
He's a
then,
great
Jim,
soldier.
why did you help him?
Well, number one is Ardie was a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
And the way Vietnam veterans were treated when they came home, they weren't treated too well.
Right.
And there's like a brotherhood of Vietnam veterans in Ardie. I mean, that was easy. That was the easy part, is helping Ardie. Very easy, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd do it again.
You talk to a Vietnam soldier, they're a breed on themselves. I mean, they're like, you can't describe them. When you even mention something about you got a brother who was in Vietnam, was killed in Vietnam, they kind of bond to you. Like, you know, we understand what you're going through. I mean, they're a special group of people. I love all of our military, but the Vietnam soldier is a little special to me.
Yeah. Never understood it myself.
Yeah.
And I know you, being in service, you don't understand.
I was going into VA regional office one time. I'd earned my rights with the VA for going through a war.
Right.
And I went there, and they were locked arms. They had their arms locked. They said, "You're not going in." The protesters,
Right.
Oh, there's about 30 of them. He said, "You're not going in?" And I'm like, "I can't get in the VA hospital. A VA regional office." I said, "Nah, that doesn't seem right." So I walked back about 25 feet, and I turned around. I was like a bowling ball. I plowed into him, and I walked right in. And there'd be guys coming back from Vietnam. They'd be trying to turn over the bus. You know, they were just called all kind of vile names and everything like that. And it upset me. And then talking about helping Ardie, that was easy.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Vietnam soldiers will ever get the full recognition they deserve, but they deserve it. Everything they deserve more that they're getting now. I mean,
Well, times are better on that, are they?
They're getting a little better, but not what they should be.
Well, let me just say this: when I was a Spec 4, I was making $1,500 a year, and now a Spec 4 makes $45,000 a year. Okay. Now people say, "Well, money was worth a lot more back then." I'm sorry, $1,500 in a year, that was a lot of money,
right.
Even back in those days.
Yeah.
And they get paid pretty good now.
Yeah,
pays pretty good.
Well, like I say, we got the greatest army service in the world. There's nothing no better. I say that, but I never had the honor to serve his country. But people like Jim, I admire him. I really do.
You know, you were asking me about it. Things get better.
Right.
Yeah, it's got a lot better. You see the Wounded Warriors commercials on TV.
Right.
You didn't have nothing like that in Vietnam.
No.
There was no such thing as post-traumatic stress syndrome. There was none of that stuff going on then.
I've talked to Vietnam soldiers that said when they come home that they was even afraid to put on their application Vietnam because wouldn't hire them. Companies would not hire them. Now that's what Vietnam soldiers have told me over the years.
Yeah.
That they would not even hire them because they was from Vietnam.
So unless you've been in those shoes or around somebody, we don't realize.
You get to the airport and you take your uniform off, and because they just didn't wear that uniform. And it was pretty rough, you know. And I was in Vietnam one time, and there was this propaganda, this communist official. He threw it all over the rice paddy. It was after a firefight. So I decided to pick one up. And it said, "Hey, GI, we know we won't beat you on the battlefield, but we will beat you in Washington, San Francisco, and New York." And they had a picture of an American flying one of their flags over here. Now, you're in combat with these people. They're trying to kill you, okay? And you read something like that, and you know, I never forgot it. It was the truth. He was right. That communist was right. We will beat you in the United States. That's where they beat us. They didn't beat us on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, there's some tough Americans over there that take them on. And what you heard about Vietnam veterans, pot smokers and druggies, and that's Hollywood. It's all Hollywood. Yeah. Just like I tell the story, like you take a Vietnam veteran in the rice paddies in Vietnam. He's got a Bible. Mm. Then he got another Vietnam veteran over here smoking a joint, right? You know where the news media is going to go? They're going to run to that Vietnam veteran smoking that joint. Yeah. That guy in the Bible, he's boring. He's boring, you know? Yeah. So that's what the American public heard back here.
That's what they brought back.
That's what they brought back. So if you've ever looked in some of the Vietnam movies like Platoon or something like that,
sure.
Do you see how they're portrayed? Vietnam veterans are portrayed.
Right.
They're portrayed not too good.
That's right.
And that's wrong. That's wrong. And,
that's not the way it was.
No. Yeah. It was more like We Were Soldiers. Mel Gibson. I don't know if you've seen that one or not. Mm-hmm. That was more so. And people ask me, they said, "What kind of people were in Vietnam?" I said, "American society was in Vietnam." That's why I was in Vietnam.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us how you got your Purple Heart.
Well, I was in a mortar attack, Cu Chi, Vietnam, and I was down by the showers, and I was down by the showers, down by the bunker line by myself, and actually I didn't take shrapnel. People laughed, but at the time it wasn't funny, and I heard the mortars coming in. It's going boom, boom. That's the way they sound, right? So a guy from Kentucky, bless his heart, he ran all the way down to tell me. He said, "Jim, we're getting mortared." I didn't need nobody to tell me. I didn't need nobody to tell me. And they were falling.
Yeah.
And when you got mortared, you'd head for your track. Mm-hmm. So I was nude. I didn't care. I was going for my track. I don't save my life. I didn't care if anybody see me.
Yeah.
And so I got it. I stripped, and fell on concertina wire. Barbed wire.
Yeah.
I was laying in the barbed wire, and when they were running to their track with boots on,
Yeah.
guess who was their plank, their board?
You.
I was. But they didn't mean to do it. It was like by accident, and I'm laying in that barbed wire, and I'm like a bloody mess, okay? They had to come get me on a stretcher, all right?
Yeah.
And we were getting mortared. We were under fire. That's how I got my Purple Heart.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I'd rather took shrapnel.
Because
Because it hurt.
Yeah.
I was blood. I was red all over.
Yeah.
And, it's like just like laughing at it. It wasn't fun laying in that concertina wire.
I'm sure. You still stay in contact with some of those men?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Richard. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I do.
Yeah.
And I got one good friend in Oklahoma. His name's Dwight Birdwell.
Yeah.
He was full-blooded Cherokee Indian.
Ah.
And he, I don't know if you know anything about the history of the Vietnam War, but Tet Offensive, first day of the Tet Offensive.
Yeah.
I was in that. And when he made contact, they went to Constitute and they thought they were an enemy unit down there probing the perimeter, which consisted of about 10 squad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they thought when they got down there. They got down there, there's 1,500 of them. And they were climbing up on the track, shooting them inside the track.
Wow.
And he was firing everything he could get his hands on at them. Mm. And he run out of ammunition, and he was firing the starlights. They're what they would use for identification and smoke bombs. He's down throwing smoke bombs at them. And I was in B Troop. That was Charlie Troop. And in B Troop, got a call to come down there. And we got down there, and they were ready to be. They were. It was the end of them. There was 300 inside the gate. There was another 1,200 outside the gate fighting to get in, and they pulled up right in the middle of them. And we got down there, and we flanked them. And we had at that time we probably had about 10 tanks, probably about 22 personnel carriers, and they said their morale was. They were all pumped up, you know, and then all of a sudden,
the bottom.
Yeah, and then it became a turkey shoot, and I had 3 of them. I dropped some ammo in the firefight, and I went over to pick it up, and there's a path coming down the woods, going down into the rice paddy, and I heard a noise behind me, and I stood up, and there's 3 enemy soldiers. I could shake their hand. I was looking them right in the eye. I was looking in. I didn't even have a weapon on me. I'm glad, because the Lord was looking out for me. Because if I'd had a weapon on me, I'd shot it out with me.
Right.
And I wasn't going up against 3 AK-47s, one little M16. And it's not like in the movies. Right?
Yeah.
And so, so I heard the noise. And I looked at them, and I let out the blood-curdling scream. It scared me so bad because I was a goner. But, you know, that's what saved my life. They started screaming and looking around and see if anybody was with me. Right?
Yeah.
I was gone. And I was running up the rice paddy, and they were shooting at me. The AK rounds was hitting at my feet, and I couldn't get my 50 caliber round. The same thing Ardie was shooting. Yeah. And I grabbed me M16, and the captain came over the radio, and he said, "What's going on up there?" He said, "I thought the firefight was over." I said, "So did I, but it's not." I said, "I got 3 of them to my front." And a tank came up beside. He said, "What do you need?" I said, "Well, I like a tank." And he sent a tank up beside me, put a 90 millimeter HE round on the 3 that I had
run into.
Yeah. And it just left a crater.
Yeah.
They ceased to exist on this planet.
I'm sure.
And then another guy had visited Vietnam in 1998. He said where that happened. He says, pretty ironic. They got 3 enemy soldiers, a statue there, and it's a park now.
How about that?
It's a park now. And I thought that was pretty ironic.
Yeah. Well, speaking of landmarks, the wall is coming through. Right. That's coming up in August. Don't y'all know a little bit about that?
I know a little bit.
Well, they just told me yesterday, I heard yesterday, it's called the Traveling Wall. And it's supposed to be coming through, I just seen yesterday, told us about yesterday. But it's coming through Dublin, and it's going to be here I forget what day.
The week of the 17th of
17th.
August 17th. That's
yeah.
a Sunday, so you look for more details as we get closer, but it's going to be like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday.
Everybody ought to go out
Saturday.
and just look at it. If you haven't never seen the Vietnam
They say it's
Wall,
amazing.
It's amazing. Up in Washington, D.C., that thing's amazing. But I've seen the traveling wall once before in Macon several years back. I don't know if it's the same one, but they had one in Macon.
Yeah.
That's when they was trying to put it all together. They was
Right.
traveling around with it. Mm-hmm. So
Y'all look forward to that and go out and learn some more about our country's history. And appreciate you, vets. We'll show you these pictures we have sitting here, and we've been showing them to you throughout the program of Richard accepting that medal of his brother.
Well, my niece received it. She was
Okay.
5 months old when he was killed,
Uh-huh.
and she received it. The President of the United States, President Obama, March 18th. We went up there to get it, and it was an honor for her to receive it. I was proud to see her get it. But this is a picture of me holding it. It was a proud moment of my life just to hold that medal. And my niece, to see her again, she was,
Yeah, and I'm sure that's the last picture of your brother was ever taken.
That's when he was in uniform, dress uniform, I guess. And,
Right.
my niece has got that hat and all. I didn't know that.
Ah.
Yeah, she's got and his dog tags and all that stuff. So
Good for her. Good for her. We appreciate your service again. Thank you
you,
so
sir.
much, Jim. Thank y'all for sharing with us, and thank you for what you did
Thank you.
for
Yeah.
Richard and for
I
his
thank him
family.
again too.
I felt it an honor. It was an honor to do it. I'd do it again.
I sure would.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard, and thank y'all for joining us. And thank a vet when you see him, okay?